Okay, so we are live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Just depends on where you are in the world or what time of day you are watching. Hopefully, you're joining us live. But if you're on the replay, welcome to Lyonsview Realty Financial Fridays. My name is Clara Lyons-DeVaughn, and I am the broker owner of Lyonsview Realty. Our team provides residential, commercial for small businesses and nonprofits, and property management services. So we also have coming soon Lyonsview Academy, which is our real estate pre-licensing and continuing education component. We do credit counseling, distressed homeowner solutions, and lifestyle, health, wellness, and wealth education. So, Lyonsview Realty, we launch Financial Fridays to help you stay current on trends that impact your bottom line. Our goal is to provide you with resources, information, and tips to assist you in making the best financial decisions. Our commitment is to maximize your wealth building power now and in the future. So I'm so glad that you tuned in today. Welcome. Feel free to like and share this video because our guest today is really here as a resource to you. And if you have any questions, type your question in the comment section so we make sure that they get answered during the live session. But if you're doing the replay, type your question and we will also get back to you as well. And today we have a very special guest. Mr. Jesse Crawford is joining us again, and he is from the New Jersey Housing Mortgage Finance
Agency.
Agency,
HMFA.
NJHMFA. Yes, that's always a mouthful. And I'm really excited because, NJHMFA is probably one of the best kept secrets. They provide down payment assistance programs to home buyers. But today we're going to talk about something that's really special and very time sensitive. So the state of New Jersey is providing emergency grant funds really to ensure that our smaller landlords with rental units who've experienced any type of financial loss will continue to operate. It's very important. So if you as a landlord, you've forgiven rent, or if you as a tenant, you've needed your rent forgiven, you want to share this information with your landlord to see if the property is eligible, or if you're the landlord, you want to see if you're eligible. So it's really a win-win. And due to the short window for participation, I think the application date started yesterday and only goes through the 26th. We're going to forgo our normal Q&A type format, and I'm going to allow Mr. Crawford to present this information so that you don't miss any of the details. But you can type your questions into the comment section below, and that way, we'll be able to make sure that you have all the information that you need. How are you doing, Mr. Crawford? So good
I
to
am
see you again.
good to see you, Clara, as well. I am doing well, considering all that we're going through. I'm blessed. My family's healthy. I'm still working, and we're still pushing at the agency to help New Jersey residents with housing on all levels. So no complaints here.
Indeed, indeed. So we're going to bring up your presentation, and you can just tell me when you
Oh,
want to push the slide
sure,
forward, and we'll go from there.
sure. Before I get started, for context, for those who do not know what we do at the agency, again, my name is Jesse Crawford. I'm the Housing and Marketing Outreach Coordinator for the state of New Jersey's Housing Mortgage Finance Agency. And the core mission at the agency is to increase the availability and accessibility of quality, affordable housing throughout New Jersey. Now, we accomplish this by supporting and constructing high quality, affordable, sustainable housing and providing assistance to first time home buyers, seniors, and New Jersey residents with disabilities. What we want to talk about today is the Small Landlord Grant Program, and it's not within our traditional scope, but in light of circumstances and things that we're going through today, as a housing counseling agency, we saw the severe need and worked hard to develop this program to assist in addressing it. And with that said, I'll start the presentation.
Okay, so you a little bit of static that's on your end or my end. So is your headset plugged all the way in?
Yeah, it is. How's that? Let me just check my volume settings real quick.
Okay, just a little bit of static, not bad, but just a tad.
Yeah, we've been experienced some internet issues with the provider over the last couple of days. How's that? Can you
That's
hear me?
good.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So the Small Landlord Emergency Grant Program. Next slide, please.
Okay. There we go.
What is the Small Landlord Emergency Grant Program? It is assistance for small rental properties in the state of New Jersey. It is intended for landlords and their tenants during this COVID pandemic emergency. It's $25 million given to the agency to administer through the CARES Act. Next slide. Approximately 2/3 of small rental property owners are considered what we would say mom and pop properties or mom and pop shops. And given the unique issues with COVID-19, there was a need. Landlords are losing revenue because tenants can't pay, and tenants are facing foreclosure, eviction in some cases. So there's a dual hardship here, and this program will hopefully address both of those concerns and needs. It's vital, and this program will pay the landlord from April of 2020 through July of 2020. So basically, at the beginning of the pandemic or the shutdown, up and through July, rent that the tenant has missed or shortage of payment of rent by the tenant for those particular 4 months. And it also ties in, if the landlord receives this assistance, the landlord must forgive the tenant's back rent and late fees. Next
And that's
slide,
really
please.
great for the tenant. Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot
so
of people.
it's a win-win for both the landlord and the tenant.
Indeed. Indeed.
Now, the applicant for this particular program, and we refer to it as SLEG, that's the acronym, Small Landlord Emergency Grant Program. The applicant must be the primary owner of a residential property. Unfortunately, mixed-use properties don't qualify. Commercial properties don't qualify for this. It's residential properties only, 3 to 10 units. And when I say 3 to 10 units, I mean we mean one building, one unit, 3 or more units in that building, with a maximum of 10 units. Also, very important is that the unit must be registered with the Department of Community Affairs Bureau of Housing and Inspection Inspection Management System. It's referred to as the RIMS database, or what the applicants will hear is RIMS number. It is not the green card registration number that some folks are calling in or putting their applications in currently with. And what's happening, I got a message this morning, what's happening is folks are being rejected because they're putting in the wrong information. And hopefully folks who hear this broadcast or on Facebook and elsewise will take heed and understand that the registration number that is used in the management system at DCA, that number is what you need to put on your application. That number correlates with your property. It correlates with the name of the property and what DCA has in their database and the history of inspections for that property.
And DCA is the Department of Community Affairs, the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs.
That is correct. That is correct. And I get so wrapped up with all these acronyms. You know, the state has so many acronyms, and we just get kind of lax and assume folks know what we're talking about. So I would be cognizant of that and let folks know what these acronyms are.
Okay. And you also talked about mixed use. So when you say mixed use, if there's, say, a barbershop on the bottom and apartments up top, that is eligible or ineligible?
That it unfortunately ineligible. That's considered a mixed use property with, you know, residential and commercial property below it.
Okay. So this is
Okay.
just residential only. Gotcha. Okay.
Residential only, yeah. The applicant must be current on all state and local tax obligations and not be a government entity or public housing authority, or it cannot be a condo or a cooperative owner. Next slide, please. Property must be at least 3 or more units, up with a maximum of 10 units. I had a caller this past week. He had 20 units. He wanted to know if he could get reimbursed for 10. Unfortunately, no. It has to be the maximum of 3 to 10 units. This program is geared specifically for that segment, that population of landlords at this particular time. Hopefully down the road, there will be some other programs available that will address some of the other concerns throughout the state. But right now, this is the program that's designed for 3 to 10 units for small landlords. The property must at least contain one non-vacant COVID impacted unit who has missed rent or have reduced payments in rent between April 2020 and July 2020. And I'm going to say April 2020 and July 2020 quite a bit throughout this particular presentation, because those dates are important. You got pre-COVID and post-COVID. And if a landlord had a problem with a tenant not paying from January through March, most likely they're not going to qualify for these funds because the tenant owed more pre-COVID than post-COVID. Make sense?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Rents charged to the COVID impacted units must be no greater than the maximum rent thresholds. And I have a slide to show all 21 counties and what the maximum rent thresholds are by county and by room size. So this is for the low to moderate income rents. And if you are a landlord and you're watching this and your rents are over what that threshold is for that bedroom size, unfortunately, you will not qualify for these grants either. Okay. Last thing on this particular slide, it cannot be a seasonal or vacation rental property. Okay, those properties won't qualify. And DCA in their inspection management system has, if it's registered, they have a history of this property. They know exactly what it is, and they know exactly what it's being used for, and when the last inspections were, even if it was 5 years ago, and if it had any outstanding code violations. So they're going to review that information with your application after it's submitted through our portal.
Gotcha.
Next slide.
So what's important about this slide is, as a tenant, if the tenant was behind on their rent last year or even January through March, and they're trying to present this to their landlord, as a way to not have to pay back their rent that they missed April through July, they're not a big candidate.
No, because they actually owed more prior to the COVID shutdown than the 4 months afterwards.
Okay.
Or if they were already in the process of being evicted, unfortunately, they've already accrued too much late fees and back rent. So they're not going to qualify for this. This is strictly funds from the CARES Act to be appropriated for COVID relief. So, and that started from April through July. Hopefully there'll be some more funding after July, but as of right now, it's for that 4 month period.
Gotcha. When you
Next,
say
go ahead.
for that 4-month period, they're going to reimburse for that 4-month period with
Exactly.
these emergency funds. Gotcha. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And also, if the landlord receives the award and they're reimbursed the funds for that 4-month period, the tenant's going to get notification that the landlord received those funds. And the landlord has to forgive the tenant that back rent. So there won't be any double charging of the tenant. We have honorable landlords all across the state, but we put that in there to make sure to keep everybody's honest with this particular grant, which is a great
I think
thing.
that's really awesome, because sometimes landlords know and sometimes tenants don't know, or
Mhm.
sometimes tenants know and the landlords don't know. So this is an opportunity, as we said before, it's a win-win situation for
Right.
everyone who's having difficulty, during this time in that time frame. So this is great. Thank you.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, the property must have a fire cert. It's current as of December 31st, 2019. Due to the pandemic, each municipality has a different criteria for fire inspection and a different time frame. Um, so applicants who may not have the most current fire inspection certification, if they're registered in DCA's Department of Community Affairs Registration Inspection Management System at least 5 years ago and they're in the database, not to worry about the most current fire inspection certification. Submit the application without the fire cert, and your application will be reviewed by DCA after it's received for any outstanding code violations, which is very important because the way the application portal is designed, Clara, if a expired fire cert is submitted, the application is going to be denied. And in light of the pandemic and inspectors weren't able to go out and do their jobs because the shutdown, things didn't happen in a timely fashion, and that's nobody's fault. So again, I'm going to reiterate, as long as the landlord or property owner is registered, that's the key word, registered with the Department of Community Affairs RIMS database, your information is in the system and they'll be able to verify your property and your inspections when they review your application.
So can the landlord, if they're registered, but maybe something is expired, can they get it up to date before they submit their application, or it doesn't matter?
It's not going to matter at this particular point.
Okay.
I do have if the applicant does not know their RIMS number, I want to give this number out right now for the Department of Community Affairs. It's 609 633.
Hold on just a second. Say 609
609 633 6225. They can call that number and get their registration number from DCA for the inspection management system. This number is needed to put on their application when submitted.
Okay.
All right.
Put that in the chat for everybody as well.
Great.
Okay.
Great. We can skip to the next slide.
Okay.
Now,
I'm going to make this slide a full screen so people can see it.
Now, here are the maximum rent thresholds by bedroom size. For example, Atlantic County, I can't really see it on my screen, but I think that for one bedroom is $1,266, and for two bedrooms, it's $1,518 for two bedrooms.
Okay.
This chart is what to be used in terms of verifying rental amounts or thresholds for your application. If you're over these numbers here by county, then you're not going to qualify for the grant funds. They have to be within these particular limits. I had an individual that called me this past week, Clara, who he was $100 over because
Wow.
he charged the tenant $100 to park, and he included that $100 in the original lease agreement as part of the rent. Unfortunately, he's not going to qualify because it's over the rent threshold for the county. Now, if that had been something separate or separate agreement, then the rent would have been within the limits and he would have qualified. I felt bad, but it is what it is in terms of the thresholds for the limits here, and it's pretty straightforward. Next slide. The grant award details. There's no preset minimum or maximum amount of the award that a particular landlord is going to receive. What the reviewers at the agency, once they receive the application for the landlord, they're going to review the landlord's rental revenue history for the period of December 19th up and through July 2020. And they're going to cross-reference that with rents received and rents due and the deficit, determine the deficit or the deficient amount. And they're going to award each landlord based on the deficiencies that they have or tenants not paying or partial paying. So they're going to review a number of documents, their rent rolls, accounting that they have. They're going to review their financial bank statements for that period of time. And they're going to look at the rents received, whether it's in cash, check, or otherwise. And what's important for landlords to understand is that you need to document fully what you've received from the tenant and what you or not have received from the tenant. So if you're receiving partial amounts in cash, it's assumed that you gave a receipt for that cash and you have a receipt to show how much the tenant gave you for those 4 months. So it's important to provide context and the documentation to support the amounts that you're hopefully claiming to be reimbursed for. And the other thing about this program is 1/3 of the funds is reserved for mom and pop applicants who are registered in the Department of Community Affairs RIMS database as individuals and family owners. Okay, and that's a great thing because it spreads this award out more equitable, evenly. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Indeed, yes.
Next slide. Really quick, this is a grant award scenario. You have a property in Hudson County, 1-bedroom apartments, and the monthly rent is $1,000, and there's 3 tenants in these units. So there's 3 units. Those tenants lost income or unable to pay between April, May, June, July of 2020. And as long as the applicant meets all the other criteria and standards, the applicant should qualify for grant assistance up to $12,000. The second scenario is similar. 3 tenants, 1-bedroom apartment, $1,000 rent each. 2 tenants could pay 50% of the rent. The other tenant was able to pay their rent in full for April and May, but was unable to pay rent for June and July. The applicant is going to receive approximately $6,000 in grant assistance. So the award amounts are going to be different for each and every applicant based on their needs and based on their losses.
Gotcha. This is great.
Next slide. Very important dates to make note of. The application portal opened up promptly on Wednesday, and we've received a number of applications. A number of folks have already gone through the process, and there have been some applications denied, but a lot of the applications have been accepted. And the great thing is that if your application is denied, say for something that you didn't answer one of the affidavit questions correctly or eligibility questions correctly, you can go back in, and unfortunately, you're gonna have to resubmit your application and correct that info. It doesn't allow you to go back and change items in the application. Okay, it's just what it is in terms of the app itself. But the great thing is that we don't start randomizing the applications for the lottery until August 27th. So you have between the 19th and the 26th of August to submit your application at the portal on our website. Next slide.
So when you said a person, I was a little confused. So they can't change any of the financial information, but if they forgot something or I say that part again, because there was one part that you could change and there was one part you couldn't change. I didn't quite get what you meant.
Well, what I'm saying is the way the application portal is designed is once you submit your app, you can't go back and change anything about it. And what's happening is there are some vital things that folks need, questions that need to be answered in the beginning of the application to determine whether or not you're indeed eligible to apply. And then there's some affidavit things at the end of the application so that the applicant can say, yes, I'm telling the truth, and some other questions that need to be answered yes. And I had one applicant went through the first 3, answered yes, and just skipped over the next 8 and hit submit, and his application was denied. And he wanted to go back in and change that because he didn't take the time to really read what he was checking. And it's important and vital to read what's on the application here and check off the appropriate box. And it's frustrating, but he had to go back in and resubmit his application and answer those questions correctly. That's what I mean. I'm sorry if I confused you the first time around, but I want them to do it correctly the first time so they don't have that added stress of having to go back through it, enter everything, and upload everything a second time.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that.
No problem. No problem. Our web address at the top of this page, where you can actually go to apply for these funds. Also on the website, we have the application in multiple languages. I believe 11 different languages. We have interpretation services on our hotline, so we can address any calls in 11 different languages. The other thing is that we have a sample application to show you exactly and walk you through how to submit so that when you do get online to submit your app, you're familiar with the interface and you can go through it and enter your information correctly, hopefully correctly in the first time around with all the supporting documentation. But if you have any questions, we have our 800 number up and running from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And we're here to assist with any questions, any application issues or eligibility questions that they may have. Now, what's needed for the application is the tax identification number or the business or incorporation information, TIN, or other. This information can be found on the W-9 for folks who don't know. They need details about the property itself and the RIMS registration number from the Department of Community Affairs, which we talked about in detail earlier. They need a fiscal accounting of the property's rent revenue for or from December of 2019 through July of 2020.
Okay.
The fire cert we spoke about. If they have a valid fire cert, that's fine. If it's expired, that's also fine. Submit the application without the fire cert, and as long as they're registered with DCA, that'll be reviewed later. They need to provide bank statements for the period of December 2019, through July 2020. And very important, they need leases to cover all the units that the applicant is seeking assistance for. They need leases for those time periods that they're seeking assistance for. Even if it's a month-to-month lease or 12-month lease or 24-month lease, we need to have a signed lease for that period of time that they're seeking assistance for.
Okay.
Here are some recently asked questions. You may apply for SLEG assistance for more than one property, but each property will be considered a separate and random draw. So what's going to happen, Clara, is after all the applications are submitted and the portal is closed on the 26th, there's a randomized drawing, and there's basically a lottery, and then those who have been awarded will be notified. Well, not awarded, but win this particular lottery will be notified that their file is in review, and the file will be reviewed. If there's any issues, they'll be addressed, and the applicant will be reached out to, and they have a certain period of time to rectify those concerns. If the applicant is flat out denied for any reason, there will be an appeals process for some. Others there won't. It depends on the circumstance and the reason for the denial, but they will receive something in writing, and they have 10 days to respond.
There are two questions, Jesse. One is, how does one get on the DCA list as a landlord in case you weren't there already?
Well, my understanding in the state of New Jersey, any multifamily dwellings, three units or more, should be registered with the Department of Community Affairs Registration Inspection Management System. If they're not, then they would have to get registered. If they're not already registered, fortunately, they're not going to qualify for these funds because DCA has no way of verifying their information in the system. And you had to be on or in the system as of July 17th, I believe, of 2019. I got to go back to the other side. I think it's 2019. But if they're not in the system currently, they're not going to be able to apply for these funds, unfortunately.
Right. But if they want to get into the system, let's say there's a round 2 sometime in the future.
Yeah, they can go to the website for DCA. They do go to DCA's website, the RIMS Information Management System, and I can send you that URL later that you can send out, and they can register there. So the next round of funding, they'll be ready and prepared. I'll send that information to you. Okay. Or again, they can call the number of DCA that I gave you earlier.
Okay. And you talked about a random a lottery. Mm-hmm. So everyone submits their application is going into this lottery system.
Yes.
So that assumes not everyone will be selected initially, or is it just to narrow down the number of people that they deal with at one time?
Everybody will not be selected initially, and there'll be a waiting list. And unfortunately, some folks who applied will be denied. And then the next person on the waiting list will move up and actually then their file reviewed for an award. And that's how they're going to address it until the funds run out.
Okay, so it's God's grace.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Really quick, the property owner is the only individual that can apply for these funds. Okay. And you may not seek assistance for owner-occupied units. So if you have a 4-family and the property owner lives in one, he or she cannot seek assistance for their unit, only their tenants' units.
Okay.
And
so 3 of the 4, not the one that the owner lives in. Gotcha.
Exactly.
Okay.
And very vital here is that this program or reimbursement program does not cover late fees. It does not cover security deposit that may have been used for rent. It only covers the rent from April 2020 through July of 2020. It, so late fees, again, cannot be reimbursed, and security deposit cannot be reimbursed. Only rent that was missed or reduced payment for that period of 4 months.
So if I'm a landlord and I receive these funds, so I get reimbursed for the lost rent, but can I still charge that tenant for those late fees? Is that considered okay or not being in violation to try to recoup the late fees associated with it if I'm if I get the
My
grant?
understanding, you can't recoup it through this grant, but if you seek to act, well, no, they're required to waive late fees in addition to outstanding back rent. They're
Okay,
required
so
to
it's
waive.
both.
It's both, but they won't be able to receive late fees in terms of reimbursement.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So I'm if I'm a winning, I get the grant. For on the tenant side, I can't be charged for the late fees if my landlord got money to cover my rent for that period.
Exactly.
Okay, great. So
Under
it's
this
still a
program.
win-win. So the
Yes.
tenant
Yes.
doesn't have to pay late fees associated with it. They don't have to pay the back rent. The landlord gets reimbursed in full for that time period.
Yeah.
Everybody's good.
Everybody's good.
Okay. Okay,
Next.
gotcha.
Next.
Thank you.
No problem. Next slide.
And,
I hope I'm not going too fast.
no, you're fine. We have another question after I
You want to address the
go
question?
there. Sure. So the question is, how much money and or grants does the state have to distribute?
It's a total of $25 million
25 million.
through the
Woo
CARES Act.
woo! Okay, 25 million is under the CARES Act. Okay. It's a lot of
Mhm.
money. Yeah.
I said earlier we would be talking about these dates over and over and over, which is vital. Only units occupied between April and July of 2020 are eligible for assistance. Again, that's pre-COVID, post-COVID months. Okay, and if you had a tenant that owed more prior to the pandemic, then you're not going to qualify for the post-COVID relief. It has to be the tenant owed less pre-COVID than post-COVID in order to qualify for any reimbursement of rent loss for that 4 month period.
Okay.
All right. And the other questions that we've gotten on the hotline is that can I mail my application? Everything has to be done and submitted via internet access, computer access, or if you have a tablet, it can, a mobile device or tablet web accessible, you can actually submit your application that way. But everything is electronic. Your documents need to be scanned into files on your computer so you can upload them to the portal. I had an elderly couple I was working with this past week, and wonderful couple. One was 81 and the other was 82, and they kept going back and forth. And then she said, I just went over to Staples and I had them scan all my stuff and send it to me in an email. And this, she was so excited to be involved with technology. She's like, I've never done this before, so she got her stuff scanned and got it emailed to her. And I showed her how to download it onto her desktop into a folder. So when she goes to click on upload, she can go to her documents and then submit them to us. So it's just a really good feeling to be able to help folks in need. And everybody is hurting, everybody is struggling. But, Clara, if we all pull together and do our part, it eases the burden a little bit. It doesn't completely remove it, but it eases it a little bit. And I've seen the goodness in people talking to them over the phone. And most importantly, is how appreciative they are of what we're doing at the agency.
Indeed. Indeed.
And next slide. I spoke about this earlier, but we have an interpretation services, English, Spanish, Mandarin, Cantonese, Korean, Polish, Portuguese. So we have tried to address all the translation issues that we might find ourselves with during this particular part of the application process. And it's just a vital resource that's needed so we can get this information to the landlords who need it the most.
Right. I see there, if they pay their rent in cash, they just have to have evidence of the deposit.
Yeah, we spoke about that earlier. And yes, again, if cash payments are being made, you need to have receipts or you need to show deposits into the accounts for those rental units. And what the landlord or property owner should do is make sure they highlight on their bank statements if they're individual deposits or if there's a lump sum deposit. This is rent for, units A through 4. They're going to look at and examine all the financial data and all the receipts, and to make sure that everything is above board. And then they're going to award each and every property owner accordingly to what their losses are. So it's important to document everything. We talked about this earlier. Once the application is submitted, and if there is an issue, say your application is submitted and say they're missing one page of the bank statement, they're going to reach out to you and identify that item, and you have 5 days to cure that particular request coming from the reviewers at the agency. If an applicant is denied, a denial letter is going to be sent out, and in that denial letter, it will state whether or not they have the option to appeal. Some denials you can't appeal at all for various reasons. But if you can appeal, you have 10 business days to appeal from the time you receive that letter with the agency. All right. And lastly, on this slide is that not receiving a grant due to your application's position on the waiting list, as determined obviously by the random draw, is not to be considered a denial that's eligible for appeal. So you can't appeal the fact that I'm on a waiting list and I think I should be higher on the waiting list. But we have to put that out there because you never know.
Right. But if you didn't make the random draw and another batch of funds become available, do those people who've already submitted, go first in line, or have you guys talked about that at all yet?
That's a great question, and we had this question earlier in the week, and I don't really have an answer for you for that because typically with this round of funds, if we exhaust these funds and this program, say, shuts down after the funds have been exhausted and we receive additional funds down the line, that program might be slightly different. The parameters of the program might be slightly different. So they'd have to design a portal, an application based on the program guidelines. It's not necessarily going to say this program is going to stay the same. Now, if we receive additional funds in the midst of this program being administered to add to, then most certainly I think that would be the case. Whoever's on the waiting list will then now move up. I can't emphatically say that's true. I'm just saying from the perspective of, what if and how things might possibly work. So I don't have a definitive answer for that, but hopefully we do get some more funds and we can help some more people down the line, whether it be through this or something else.
Yeah. Or the other option is, if depending on the number of people who apply, you don't exhaust the 25 million and everybody who applies who's eligible is able to receive funds.
Right.
That's
right.
the other side of the coin as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Again, it's 4 months. It's 4 months. up to maximum 10 units for the landlord. So, I'm not sure exactly how many folks we're going to be able to serve with the 25 million, but hopefully we'll be able to serve every applicant that comes through the portal. And if we get more funds added to it, it's just a win-win for everybody in the state.
Indeed.
This page basically has some additional resource links. And let me plug my laptop in. My battery's going dead. Give me a second.
Okay. I don't know if I can click on any of these. Let's see.
There we go.
This is the COVID site.
Mm-hmm. And we got the DC tool. And there's a list, a link for housing counseling agencies to help renters who are struggling, who need mediation services provided through HUD certified counseling agencies.
Can you see that? Because I can't.
I can't see what you're doing. I just see the slide that's up.
Oh, okay. Let me, hold on. I'm bringing them up. So let me go there so people can see what you're seeing or what I'm seeing.
Feels like Saturday morning.
That one. I know, right? So that's the DCA aid, the screening process and all of the programs, rental assistance, homelessness, eviction prevention, home energy assistance, other programs. And this is the thing about Financial Fridays that I love. There's so many resources that are available to people that, folks are not quite aware of. And, through your organization, NJHMFA, all of these things, it's an opportunity for people to know what's out there and what's available.
Yeah, there are resources available. Hopefully we can share these resources with the folks here in New Jersey and get them the assistance that they need.
Indeed. Did you want me to bring up any of these other ones, the housing counselors or the form COVID information?
No, that they're there. And again, if someone, a renter is having issues and needs assistance, we've been referring them to a certified housing counselor to help them navigate this process with the landlord and the courts and mediation, and hopefully come to some solution or remedy to help them stay in their home, whether it be foreclosure, eviction notice of any sort, or rental issues. They work with them free of charge to help try to come to some solution to keep them in the home.
Indeed. We have a comment. The New Jersey Housing and Mortgage Finance Agency says we've received a new phone number for the DCA Bureau of Housing Inspection. That's the 609-633-6216. So
okay,
please
they're
use
changing them.
So there's a clarification on the last four digits. It's 6216 instead of 6225. Yeah.
Got you.
So put that in your notes. Awesome. So if we have any other, I'm looking for other questions in the queue. So what do you do next? I think we talked about this a little bit.
Is that a question, or are we going from the slides?
Going from the slides.
Okay, I don't see the slides on my end.
Okay, give me 2 seconds. I'm sorry. I took it down. Share my screen here so if you can see what I see. And we'll go from there. Okay. There we go.
It's loading. Okay.
Can you see it now?
What? Yes, I see it now. Go back one.
Go back. Okay.
There we go. There we go. What's next? The portal has
Sir.
opened up as of August 19th. It closes on August 26th at 1 p.m. sharp. We need you to get your
Okay.
financial information in order. Go to our website. The address is on this page, njhousing.gov rentals/SLEG. There's a sample application there to show you and walk you through the application process. We want you to get all your ducks in a row. So when it's time to submit, you have everything that you need to send to us. And then the portal closes on the 26th. The randomized drawing starts on the 27th. And then we can start reviewing these apps and getting these awards out into the hands of the property owners and the landlord. Very vital number here, 866-280-9756. That's our hotline number to call between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Call with any questions, any application issues. We're here to help. You'll get a friendly voice on the line, and we'll walk you through whatever your issue might be. We're here. We're excited, and we're trying to get this program out to as many landlords and help as many tenants as possible throughout the state who have been hurting. This is a small part, but it's a part indeed. And we're here to help and ready to go.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Mr. Crawford, I just want to thank you as always for being a resource to the community, the New Jersey Housing Mortgage Finance Agency.
You always have a problem.
I don't know why. NJHFMA. Yeah.
NJHMFA.
Had a problem. FA, Finance Agency. Yeah.
Yes.
But there's so many resources that your organization provides for related to housing, and our small landlords, those people who have 3 to 10 units. This is a very good program, and it's, we went a little bit over what we normally do, but it's important because that time frame from the 19th to the 26th is the time frame that people have who are eligible to submit this application. So definitely, if folks will share this information with others, it may not impact you, but you may be able to help someone else who sees the information and they can benefit from it as well. So definitely share the information. I just want to thank you. Your contact information was up earlier. I'll put that slide back up as well so people can get in contact with you. And here we go. So they can get in contact with you or if someone from your organization or the hotline in the future. But I want to thank everyone who listened in today, all of our viewers, whether you're watching this live or you're watching on the replay. As I said, remember to like, share, and subscribe to this information. And if you have any questions that didn't come up now but come up later, definitely post them in the comment section and we will get back to you as soon as we can. We'll post the response in the comments section as well. I want to thank you for watching today. Financial Fridays is here to provide you with resources, information, tips, and trends on those things that impact your bottom line. And I hope that you have received something of value today. As always, want to send love, light, and prayers out to anyone who has lost a loved one. If you are experiencing the impact of physical distancing, shout out to our essential employees who are going to work, those who are providing those services, especially our healthcare, transportation, food, police, fire, and most definitely our leadership. I encourage everyone to take care of yourself, take care of your family, and stay safe. My name is Clara Lyons-DeVaughn. I'm the broker owner of Lyonsview Realty. Financial Friday streams on Facebook and YouTube on Fridays at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you can join us again next Friday. Until then, keep living your best life. Thank you, Mr. Crawford. So appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me, as
All of the
always.
information that you always bring to us. Just a pleasure.
Thank you.